So welcome everyone who is now attending the second panel of the Transfer Student Panel Series by College Leap. My name is Athénaïs Martier, and I'm an international student from France studying business administration and management at Fera College and a project department associate manager at College Leap now. This series of student panel for transfer students is an online webinar series, how to bridge the information gaps between community college students and four-year institutions. So as you bear with me, let me introduce College Leap in greater detail. College Leap is a nonprofit organization aiming to empower community college and transfer students, especially internationals, by providing leadership, mentorship, internship, and volunteering opportunities, and by building many programs and projects. So you can find more information about our projects and events on our website, collegeleap.cc. You can also apply to become a chapter leader at a College Leap chapter at your own college, and if there is not one already existing, you can start your own. If you're interested in doing so, please, you can find all the information you need for the application process on the website as well. So now back to TSPS. It's a program under the Transfer Council at College Leap to fill in the information gap between community colleges and four-year universities, as I previously mentioned. This full series is free and open to all community college students. There will be many other panels until the end of February 2021. The upcoming sessions are UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, and UC Irvine concerning the UCs. And the goal is to cover about 20 to 25 UCs, private universities, out of state, and Ivy Leagues. You will find all the information you need on our website regarding the upcoming panels under the transfer panel section, which will be updated as time goes on. The sessions will be recorded and posted on our webpage. And if you missed our last session, which was UC Berkeley, you can find a written summary of it and a link to the recording on our website as well. Before starting today's panel, I would like to add a little disclaimer. So the information shared on TSPS only represents panelists' personal opinions and should not be dependent solely on to make any decision. College Leap is not in any way responsible for the information shared in TSPS, and you should always consult your college advisors before making any changes, especially to your educational plan. So today's panelists will share their experience at their Korean universities, which is UCLA, their transfer experiences and tips, as well as the community college educational journey and extracurricular suggestions. At the end of the session, you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself and ask the panelists some questions. So now, without further ado, I will let the panelists introduce themselves and start the second TSPS session. Yana, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Yana Zamora. I'm a rising fourth year. I transferred in from Pasadena City College. My major is philosophy, and I'm minoring in environmental systems and society. I'm currently doing the pre-law track, and my specific involvements on campus, I've been involved in different spaces, mainly with sustainability, like the Renewable Energy Association, alternative spring breaks, but notably the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership, as well as the Philippine Pre-Law Pipeline. Sorry about that.
Thank you, no worries. All right, Chris, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Chris Aspirin, and I'm a transfer from Moorpark College. I'm currently majoring in biochemistry, and I'm a second-year transfer, or fourth-year standing. I will be graduating in the spring of 21, and my current involvement right now is with Filipino Transfer Student Partnership as well at UCLA as the administrative coordinator.
All right, thank you. Sam, if you want to go ahead now.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam, he and his. Thank you for having me here today. I'm super excited. So I actually transferred from College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita, California, and I'm set to graduate in spring 2021 from UCLA. I'm currently studying sociology and minoring in education, and some of my campus involvements include residential life, doing research, part of like student-initiated outreach projects for like retention, to like lower income, underdeserved populations, as well as the chairperson for the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership.
Thank you. All right, Yuhan, you're up next.
So hi everyone, my name is Yuhan Zhou. I'm a senior student studying business economics at University of California, Los Angeles. So I transferred from Fuhao College. I'm also an international student from mainland China. My campus enrollment in the UCLA is that I joined the professional accounting club called Beta Alpha Psi. So our club is to provide students with interviews tips and also help students to find out their dream companies as well. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And Ria.
Hi, my name is Rhea Paulos. I transferred from Chabot and Las Positas College here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I transferred to UCLA. I will graduate in either spring 2021 or fall 2021. My major is psychology, and my involvement with UCLA is I am the SEND coordinator for the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for being here today, first of all. So we're gonna go ahead with the first questions which concern your current experience at UCLA. So the first one is, how was your experience at your current university and what is one thing that you like most about UCLA? So we'll keep the same order, which start with Yana.
Sure. So you asked my experience at community college and how I like UCLA as of right now.
I asked your experience at UCLA right now and what is one thing that you like best?
Sure. Okay. Well, as of right now, it's remote instruction, but my professors and I'm sure like all of our professors have been extremely accommodating. Overall, my experience in fall quarter was extremely enriching and challenging. The transition from semester to quarter was a bit of a shock, but because I found my community on campus, I felt extremely supported, and I felt that I had people to turn to just in case I needed to vent or if I needed a distraction. But aside from that, I tried to experience all the things that I was interested in, like joining different organizations, until I really found the org that I felt was my community, which was the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership. So overall, challenging, and there was a lot of growth in my experience at UCLA.
Awesome, thank you. Chris, for the same question, let me know if you want me to repeat it.
Sure. Could you repeat it again?
Sure, no worries.
Thank you.
So how is your experience at your current university, which is UCLA, and what is one thing that you like most about the school?
Right. Okay, so similar to Yana, I think upon transferring, it was really a big shock for me, just because in comparison to my experience at community college, it was definitely a lot faster pace, switching from the semester to the quarter system, finishing, a class in 10 weeks versus 18 was a big shock for me. But also just the social aspect of it, because I feel like in community college, for a lot of people, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but for me, like a lot of my time was just driving to school, taking classes, coming back, and not really having like a social aspect about it. But definitely jumping right into the fall of my first year at UCLA, I definitely met a lot of people during that time in my classes and in both clubs, and joining those as well. But because of that, I would say that's like the best part of it, because you really find like the people that you really want to be around. You naturally gravitate towards like-minded people. So that's what I really liked about UCLA. And I guess that really helped me transition to the quarter system easier.
Thank you. Okay, Sam, for the same question as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Jan and Chris said. It was a shock for me as well, moving from semester to the quarter system too. But really, I think what I found at UCLA, what I really, really liked is that it's such a vibrant and large campus with many different communities, and you're really going to find, this place that you can really fit in, whether it's for your passions or for its careers. I remember we had our enormous activities fair where there's like over 1,000 different clubs that I tried to explore, and I signed up for probably 7 of them. But in the end, I only really stuck around with 1 or 2, just because, there's not enough time for everything. So what I really appreciate is that they have so many different things that you can explore, so many knowledgeable people that are looking to like help you out, to explore your passions or interests, like anything. And I'm really happy that I've been able to grow like myself, you know, in my own passions, but also in my career trajectory, just getting to learn more. So I think that's been a really great opportunity at UCLA.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll talk a little bit more about all of your experiences in the next questions. Johan, for the same question as well.
Yeah, so cause right now is in the COVID-19 period, so like everything was teaching online. So I actually come back to China and like stay with my family for a couple of weeks. So, but I do remember that 1 year from now, like the first time that I joined UCLA's and I lived the dorms and I met like so many new people that who are also a transferring student and we live the residential lives. And I also met one of my best friends here in UCLA, and she actually is American. But like, even though we have some culture shocks, but we truly become like very great friends and we hang out together and eat dinner together. And yeah, and the thing that I like in UCLA is that it actually offers students a lot of resources and opportunities. So whatever you want to achieve, the student itself can become like a very good platform for you to find out those resources. And you can also like meet up people from different backgrounds and build up connections with them.
Awesome, thank you. Last but not least, Rhea.
Just like how everybody said, transferring from the community college system to the UC system was very tough because it's just from semester to quarter system. It was such a shock. But with the community I found, which was the Filipino Transfer Student Partnership, it made it easier because they gave me that support that is like, you can do it, you got this. And I believe that made that Filipino Transfer Student Partnership made UCLA even more beautiful because I found a family there. And I bet you if you guys join any UC club, you'll find that family too.
All right, thank you so much. I think that's a really great message. On to the next question, which is why do you choose to transfer to UCLA? Or mostly, why made you choose UCLA over other universities? So in the same order, I will start with Yana.
Yes, so this was a hard decision for me because the weekend before I decided I wanted to transfer to UCLA, I was at Berkeley. And they also have a really good community there. But the main factors that promoted me to making this decision was how close it was to home, as well as the philosophy program at UCLA. It's way better, I think, as well as the professors that I wanted to be taught under. The location, personally, I don't like gloomy places, and UCLA is in Westwood. I'm not too close to LA, but still there. And the community was the biggest push. Rhea is actually the SEND coordinator. SEND is an event, a yield event for transfer students. And that was one of the main factors that made me want to transfer to UCLA.
All right, thank you. Chris?
Yeah, so I think for me, there is definitely a number of factors that contributed to me wanting to choose UCLA over the other schools. I was heavily actually considering UCSB and UC Irvine as well. But what attracted me to UCLA was definitely just like the level of prestige that the school had. And I've also just had family that had graduated from UCLA previously. So there was that aspect of it. And then additionally, I just really loved the campus. And I remember going to the transfer and Bruin Day, where I kind of got to see a lot of the clubs and organizations on campus. And yeah, just during that, a lot of the people that I met, they were really pushing me to like, hey, you should really like consider choosing this school, like putting in your I forget what it's called, the official, I guess, acceptance. And yeah, I just really felt like welcomed on campus, and I really liked that aspect of it. And then lastly, I also like the location in proximity to home for me. I know I just wanted to be in a school that was in Southern California.
All right, I see. And do you believe that UCLA was the best university for your field of study?
Definitely, yeah. And I also want to add, like, I also looked more into my particular major, which was biochemistry, and I noticed that, you know, that the program was really good in just STEM in general.
I see. All right, that's good to know.
Thank you.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, so when I was applying for colleges, my first choice was actually Berkeley. So I was super interested in Berkeley, and I actually did the transfer admission guarantee for UCSB. So I was very interested in UCSB as well. But what really convinced me to go to UCLA, I think, it all came down to SEN, which is that You'll event. It stands for Student Empowerment Networking Day. And the cool thing is there's a lot of different cultural orgs at UCLA that kind of have similar events to, you know, to get students to SIR, to like the school. And like while Berkeley has a better sociology program, UCLA also had the added benefit of having a really great education program. They're kind of one of the leaders in this field of study. So I decided that because I want to, you know, become an educator, having a school with a really strong education studies program really like helped me as well. And ultimately, it also came down to being a little bit closer to home, and it was just really the welcoming community that was just, you know, welcomed me with open arms, that were there to support me. And I'm really glad that I have people here, because of course college gets tough, but it's nice to have people that are there to, you know, back you up and help you keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Oh, and I see that Yana put in the chat what SIR meant, which is Statement of Intent to Register. So that's good to know. All right, on to our next panelist, Johan, you're up next.
Yeah, sure. So, so at the time I applied for UCs, my target schools are UC Berkeley and UCLA. But unfortunately, I didn't get into Berkeley. So LA became my first choice, and I went to the Bruin Day, which is like around May, with my friends. Is actually a very great memories for me. So that is the first time I walk around UCLA's, and like compared to like Full Health College, I feel UCLA's campus is more diverse, and I can truly see that people are open-minded and they are welcome to students from different backgrounds. So yeah, so and also because like my major is business economics, so I think UCLA's can offer me like a good study resources and a great professors for the area that I study. Yeah.
Can you mention some of the resources that you think are very useful there for business economics?
Yeah, sure. So we have econ centers. Like you can actually go to the econs the teachers. You can actually like go to the professors and talk to them like at office hours, and they are very welcome for you to answering any questions they have. And we also have many like econ or business related clubs, and you can also like apply to join. They can train you like very well about like any finance knowledge and like interviews process, like etc. So it's very helpful.
Thank you. That is great. Thank you. Okay, Raya.
Okay, every time I get asked this question, I stated out that UCLA was my last choice because like out of all the colleges I applied to, I tagged to UC Davis, I applied to UC Berkeley, I applied to UC Irvine. UCLA, the #1 public university of the United States, I guess, was my last choice. And that was because being from the Bay, it's always about Berkeley. So I was striving for Berkeley going into the public health major, but then I got waitlisted. And then after UC Berkeley's admissions got out, it was UCLA. And when I opened UCLA, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get in, but I should like check in general. But then I got in, and then after I was exploring what UCLA is and like what the hype was all about, I saw that I got invited to this event called Student Powering Networking Day that PTSP has been offering to like recruit all their transfer students to come to UCLA. So I decided to join, and when I joined, it was like an eye-opening experience. I saw myself at UCLA. I saw the opportunities that it could give me that Berkeley I don't think could, because I think UCLA in general, like there's so many things around it. You have like Beverly Hills like 3 miles away. You have the beach like 5 miles away. Downtown LA is like only 10 miles away, 30 minutes, I guess. But it gave me like the opportunity to actually explore my horizons. And when I was at Send, I was texting my parents. I was like, I think I see myself here, and I believe that this will help me grow. So that's why I chose UCLA.
Awesome. And just to get back to your major, so you do think too that it was the best choice that you could have made regarding that?
I believe so, because as I go through my courses, a lot of these professors that I'm taking, they're actually the ones who are writing the textbooks, that are researching the topics, and like that hands-on experience and then giving it to me and my like peers makes it a really good choice for psychology.
Thank you. All right, so now on to our next section, which is your transfer experience. I am going to ask you, what do you think made you stand out from the other applicants when you were applying as a transfer student? Was it extracurricular activities, academic performance, internships, personal statements? What is the thing that you think made you actually get accepted in UCLA? So Yana, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so I think my personal statements really stood out. I had much of my mentors, and I used the transfer, my CC's transfer center and their resources, and I had them read and reread these essays, and I was just never happy with it. But they always said like, no, you're good to go. But I remember one of them. I think about something that we were passionate about. And I wrote about music, and I wrote about how it's been this like bridge that has connected my father and I. We have like this big gap between us. He's like 70 and I'm 20. And the fact that, that was just bridged through music was really great. And I think that personal statement really stood out, as well as the other ones. But nothing really else was very special about my application, I feel.
All right, I see. Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like it was a culmination of a lot of different things. From my community college, actually from where I'm from, Moore Park College, they actually had an honors program there, which allowed you to get into the transfer. It's called TAPS. I forget what the acronym stands for. I can go back and type it in the chat. But essentially, if you do the honors program at Moore Park, it would enable you to get, I guess, this sort of special recognition on your application to UCLA. So I feel like taking honors courses definitely helped a lot with that. Definitely performing well in my major classes. So being a biochem major, I think just performing well in biology and chemistry was really helpful. And then in addition to what Yana was saying about the personal statements, I really use my personal statements as the opportunity to show that I'm a really well-rounded individual. So not just talking about, I guess, my major and stuff like that, but also my personal interests in music and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I think definitely just showing a lot more of your personality and your character through your personal statements that you can't really show through the numbers on the rest of your application is what really helps you stand out.
Thank you. And to follow up with what you said, so TAP is the Transfer Alliance program, and I think someone wrote it in the chat. If not, I think one of our co-hosts will do it.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. That's correct. Yeah, the TAP program, Transfer Alliance program.
Okay, that's right. I cannot see the chat.
Yes.
All right. So Sam, for the same question.
Yeah, I think something that I guess stood out in my application is that I was very transparent, talking about kind of where I came from to where I am now, like maybe the adversity that I had to go through. I talked a lot about how my time in high school no, I wasn't really ever focused on academics, and it was a tough time. So, that led me going to community college, which is, everyone has their own path. It's really great. But I guess I was never really satisfied with my academics until I got into community college and I started to learn more about myself and actually really genuinely love learning. So I kind of came from my point of, starting how I used to kind of look at my education and to how I grew to really love it and striving to become, the best version of myself that I can be. So particularly that was a question I think involving a challenge that we overcame. And another question I can remember is the question actually everyone has to do, which is how have you prepared for your intended major? And there I just really talked about how I've really let my personal values and passions kind of guide me, and that kind of led me to the field of education where I worked really hard, whether as a tutor or maybe as a peer mentor, and how I really started to love, putting together these workshops or study sessions, and how that, not only I was able to help my fellow peers and students, but I just really felt like I grew as a person. So I was very transparent and, genuine and honest with um, how I've been growing and how I want to continue growing, especially at a university like UCLA.
I'd
Thank
also like
you.
to mention that Chris put a very helpful link in the chat if anyone's interested in checking out the TAP or transfer admission or transfer the TAP program.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, for that information. And as you said, I think this is something that comes up pretty often, that vulnerability and honesty is really important in your personal essays. At least this is the kind of advice we hear quite often. So thank you for reminding that. Johan, for the same question.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to mention is I actually highly recommend students who want to major in econ or BS econ major to have the honor tab. It's very helpful to transferring to UCLA, especially if you are majoring in those two majors, because everyone's GPA was very high, so you must tab actually. And so as for my overall transfer application, I think the thing that helped me to stand out is that my actual curriculum activities was very diverse. I have a plenty of them, because I think the key point for me is I am the person that willing to reach out to people, even though maybe I'm not very familiar with them. But I think that is very important to make you stand out and to build up connections. Yeah, so I think, so I think connections are extremely important for you if you are in your CCs right now. So also be able to reach out to professors and be close friends with them will also help you to guide you throughout your CC journey. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so for the same question last, which is Ria.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course, no worries. So what do you think made you stand out from the other applicants when you were applying as a transfer student?
Okay. Aside from grades, grades are very important. I think what really stands out and what you put onto your application is showing who you are and what you do, and the determination that you put in, not only into your academics, but in life in general. Say, okay, I was a softball player growing up, and I think that determination, with my awards that I got with the from softball and any other awards that I got in regards to academics, and I think just extracurriculars, it shows that you're determined to work, and it shows that you're a very versatile person. You're not always just hitting the books. You're exploring things in life. You are putting yourself into situations that could be difficult or easy, but then you're seeing the bright side of it. And that's when you write down your awards or your volunteer work or your personal statements. They want to know that you are a versatile person, and that aside from academics, that you can make an impact on UCLA by being you.
Awesome, thank you. Those are really great advices. All right, so on to our next question. It will be about GPA. So what was your GPA when you transferred, and what would be the top tip that you would give to the audience on how to maintain a good GPA? If you don't want to share your GPA, just give an interval that you would, just advise people to have. So first is Yana.
Yeah, I transferred in with a 3.8 GPA, and I maintained that because I was very selective of all my classes. As in, I would go on ratemyprofessors.com and look at all of the professors and the reviews, and I fully believe that these students wouldn't lie about their experiences. So taking that into account, I chose very light classes, except for the classes where students started to rave about the professors, but it was a bit challenging. But overall, maintain that GPA by taking very good and slight classes.
Thank you. So next up is Chris.
Yeah, so when I transferred from Moore Park to UCLA, I actually had a GPA of 3.69 or something like that. And I was actually honestly pretty surprised that I got into UCLA with that GPA, and especially being a biochemistry major. But going back to what I was saying earlier about having just like a well-rounded application, that also helped me. But yeah, I think for me, I actually spent 3 years total at Moore Park College. So something that definitely helped me with keeping my grades up was making a really organized class plan for your whole 2 to 3 years, whatever it may be. So whether it be on Microsoft Excel or something like that, or even just writing it out on a chart, if you plan your classes out accordingly, so you're not taking too many hard classes at one point. Because I think one semester I was actually taking physics, biology, and chemistry in the same quarter or the same semester, so that was pretty challenging. But yeah, I'd say just planning in general really helps you kind of just move things around so that you could maybe take 2 hard classes and maybe 2 easier ones to kind of balance things out, and that way your GPA won't suffer from it.
Thank you. That is very true. All right, Sam, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so when I was applied to UCLA, I had a 3.9, and how I was able to get that was I really committed to talking with my professors. I think the really great thing about CC is that, the classes are generally pretty small. Like coming to a university like UCLA, you might have lectures with like 150 people in them, and you can never really talk to the professor. You mostly talk to TAs, but in these small intimate settings in CC, you have like 30 other people in your class, and usually when the professor says like they have office hours, like hardly any people attend. And professors are fantastic people who are just there to help you out. So I always made it a point myself to just talk with my professors. I'd go in that first week, establish that rapport, even though it was difficult for me too, because I'm naturally kind of a little shy. But I always try to get out of my comfort zone just to say hi, establish that rapport, and then it became really easy to talk to them, not only about the class, but about their own pathway to college and how they kind of became passionate about the subject that they're teaching. And I found that was kind of the number one things that just made learning itself a lot less intimidating, because I was pretty scared, honestly, coming into CC. But getting to have this friendly face in class where I could walk in, be comfortable with the professor and not be afraid to share my answer, ask for help, really did wonders for helping me like do well in school. And other than that, also, trying my best to talk with classmates, whether that's just the people sitting beside me or just saying, hey, like, does anyone want to, study in the library or like make study groups? Study groups I think are really underrated. They're super helpful. And I know right now it's really tough, but I think online study sessions, even watching lectures together on Zoom, is pretty effective. So I'd always encourage you, to network with your other classmates. We're all in this together. We're all trying to help each other out. It shouldn't be this competition. We should all be trying to lift each other up. And of course, just connecting with professors, because at the end of the day, they're just there to help you, and they're really passionate about the subjects they're teaching as well.
Thank you. So someone is asking if the GPA was by the end of the fall semester prior to applying, or by spring prior to transferring or graduating from the community college you were attending.
Yeah, so that GPA was the GPA I had when I was applying, which was in the fall semester.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
but it is, sorry if I can add on, it is important, of course, to keep up your grades that last spring semester, because you do have to send in your transcripts for your spring semester as well if you take any summer courses. So the universities will definitely be looking at those too. So because it kind of easy is once you submit your applications to kind of relax, but you still got to keep up, the hard work and dedication, because they still will be looking at those classes as well.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, for the exact same question, Johan.
Yeah, so my transfer overall GPA is 3.87 with honor tab. I got all A's in general education class, and 2 or 3 A minus will be in some of the major course. So before I choose which class I will attend, I will definitely go to read my professors and see like how student comments about like the course that they are taking and how like the difficulty and the professors are. And I may also like take suggestions from my friend who had been taking the professor's class before, because they can give me the like very true answers. So they can give me like a biased idea about like if I'm gonna choose a class or not. And after I choosing to take the class throughout the quarter, I will definitely build up connections with the professors. So I will let the professors to know me as well. I will go to like his or her office hours, because like, so I feel like as long as I know the professors, I will put more time to contribute in the course. So definitely the grade will comes up as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Johan. Raya, if you want to go ahead.
Applying and putting in my fall 2018, fall 2019 grades. I applied with a 3.9. I'm gonna be transparent, but then after spring 2019, I got admitted with a 3.5, and there's just something that happened in regards to schoolwork that's why it went down to 3.5. But I'm here, right? I made it to UCLA, and that's what really matters. Is the GPA doesn't really matter, like, but it does. But then what really helped me with my GPA is actually going to rate my professor. And here, if you haven't used Rate My Professor and you want the guidelines of what you want to see and what you want to take, and if anything above a 3.5 rating on Rate My Professor is your best bet. Anything below that, no. Find your options, I swear. And then also just connecting with the professors and also connecting with the students around you is what is going to make you succeed, not just at like community college or in UC, but in life in general. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so those were really great advices on how to get a great GPA. Thank you. So the next question is, please name 2 or 3 experiences that you feel are the most important to you as a transfer student, like leadership, internship, volunteering, etc. So Yana?
I would say one of the best experiences I've had is with the Philippines-Ucla pipeline. I want to be a lawyer, and I didn't know where my resources were. And so I started looking within my own community, and I found this organization that is centered on empowering people of color to pursue careers in law, Filipinx Allies. And I decided to take part in that as a leader, and I'm currently the president for this year. And it's been a very enriching experience for me to be able to see different faces, want to be attorneys as well, and share that like same pursuit, and also be able to like share these resources with them. So we've been like looking up resources and broadcasting them, as well as like job opportunities and internships, because really what it comes down to is community. And I've learned from this experience, this organization in particular, that the motto, "I will lift as I climb." So yeah, that's one. of the most enriching parts of UCLA experience.
Thank you. And before you transferred, was there any kind of activities or internships that you did?
I was mainly involved in a 9-to-5 office job, so nothing too crazy, but I did volunteer in like different projects, like the animal shelter, Red Cross, and stuff like that.
Thank you. Those sounds really interesting. For Chris, the same question. Let me know if you want me to repeat it.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, was it based on transfer experiences that you're asking about?
Yeah, like prior to transfer, and if that helped your application.
Sure, yeah. So one of the biggest experiences for me, I feel like that helped my application and also just going into UCLA in general is I had a few consistent years in leadership. For me, it was my church. So it was, I think, volunteer experiences like that where you show consistency. Um, yeah, just the fact that I did it for 4 years and, you know, some of the things that I did in there, you know, lead small group discussions and basically just like help out like high school teens and stuff like that. I feel like that really shined through on my application, you know, showing that, you know, that's what something else I did aside from academics. And then additionally to that, I also worked a couple of jobs as well, which I noted on my application. They were just part-time jobs as well. One was at a trampoline park and the other was at a movie theater. But I think there's a section, I was looking back on it for the transfers actually, it's what's your earnings purpose? And in there I noted, you know, I'll be saving up for, you know, my college savings and whatnot and be smart with my money. And then also during those, I noted that I was able to get a supervisor position in one of those as well. So I think that just helped the application readers see that, you know, that I am a well-rounded individual, as, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, and as well as being hardworking while still being a full-time student as well. I think that helped them see that, you know, that my application was really, I guess, well-rounded.
Yeah, thank you. Sam, for the same question.
So a couple experiences that I would say is during my second year of community college, I actually became like a peer mentor. So I was working for a program called the First Year Promise Program, or FYP. And FYP basically provided first year college students with entirely, their education was covered. So I basically I had a cohort of like 25 students that I would, you know, check in with them. I would do study sessions, I would do workshops, just, you know, supporting them and navigating higher education, because it can be pretty confusing. And then from there, I became like an English tutor. I became like really involved on campus, becoming part of like different committees, or just, you know, like things like that, different committees and clubs. But what I think I kind of noticed later, and I kind of downplayed this in the beginning too, is that my work experience as well. Like I worked at a restaurant for 3 years, or I worked at like a ceramics painting shop for a couple years as well. I didn't think, you know, highly about these positions, but I didn't really realize how much, you know, transferable skills that they have and how much you can incorporate that when you're writing, you know, your essays and things like that. For like the steakhouse, it could be, you know, organization, you know, public speaking, all of these things. For the ceramic shop, it's just like tapping into my creativity and like different things that I like outside of like academia. And so it's like, it's really cool to see that really no matter what experiences that you have that you're doing, you know, you can all, you know, transfer this, you know, to helping you become a more successful student. So I think there's a lot of value there, and it's important not to forget that. So really, yeah, no matter what you do, it's going to be helping you. As long as, you know, it's experience, it's definitely going to aid you into getting to the schools that you want and just like growing as a person.
Thank you. That is really interesting. Okay, Yana, do you want to say what you wrote in the chat? Because I see you misheard the question.
Yes, absolutely. So I did have different volunteer experiences prior to transferring. I stayed in those projects for 2 to 6 months, and I wanted to be a part of them because those were causes I was passionate about. For example, I was in a political campaign as a canvasser. I taught kids emergency preparedness for Red Cross, and I had a full-time job at an office to, you know, support myself and my family. But definitely going off of what Chris said, it showed shows that you can manage your time and that you're a well-rounded individual. It really brings out your character as well when you show that you're involved in these different spaces.
Thank you. Yeah, you're totally right. Any type of experience is good to take because it just shows that you have many other skills and it's very versatile. So that is really great to underline. All experience is valuable. Johan, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. So at the first half of my community college, I joined the student government to become the oral card benefit coordinators. So my role was basically to negotiating discount with nearby restaurant managers for student ID card holders. But like at the beginning, I actually have no clue of how to handling this job. But like I have a great mentor, like he guided me throughout the whole process, and he also gave me a lot of suggestions about how to do well in the campus. And the second half of my community college, I create my own club. It's a volunteer club called Just Do It Club. So we provide a platform for Full Health College students to attending weekly or volunteer events is with us. So yeah, so my club start like around member of 5, but after like 2 quarters, actually the clubs runs like quickly fast, and we have like many royal members. So I think like in involving in campus activities like is very important for you to like to your CC's journey, and also to meet people and make friends here. Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned that your mentor shared some tips and advices on how to do well on campus.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those advices at the top of your head?
Because I was just a freshman at the time, so we actually became very good friends after like we worked together for a couple of weeks. So the suggestions that he offered me is to like to say hi to everyone that I met in the student government and to get familiar with them, so that as long as you have more like friends and have more connections, they can like truly can help you, can answer you any questions regarding to like how to choose professors and like any campus activities and like which professors are nice to reach out, like things like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Raya, for the same question, let me know if you want me to repeat.
Yes, can you repeat it?
Sure. So the question was, please name 2 or 3 experiences that you feel are the most important to you as a transfer student. So before you transferred, like leadership, internship, volunteering experiences, those kind of experiences.
Okay, yeah. So from aside from volunteering, like I volunteered at church for like 4+ years. I volunteered with special needs kids during my free time. But then what made a really big difference in who I am in my journey right now is I am also a dental assistant. I work with my dad because he's a dentist. And I think it showed me that I could handle something demanding and use that skill in my college journey, and just to be like careful with your steps, since it's like a dental practice, especially with COVID right now. You have to be careful with everything. And aside from dental assisting, I am also a tickling choreographer. For those who don't know what tickling is, or who has never seen it, or probably have seen it but just don't know what that name is when it's a Filipino folk dance that uses like bamboo sticks, and dancers who like go in between the bamboo sticks while the bamboo sticks are making a beat. And I think that has taught me to be strategic and to like accept everybody's inputs. It's not only just your own. Like you have to hear everybody out to see what works for them and what doesn't, so you can work together as a team to make something beautiful.
Thank you. That is really, really nice. And that really sounds interesting. I didn't know about that activity in particular. So we'll move on to our next section, which is tips and advices from our panelists. So one question is, what is your biggest piece of advice for succeeding in the UCLA application process or the college application process in general? So Yana, if you want to start with that question.
Absolutely. Planning is everything. I would plot all of the deadlines to the applications on my calendar, as well as getting a second opinion on those papers, those personal statements. I trust myself in my opinion, but to have a second one to sort of critique or add on to or complement what you've already done would be really beneficial. And as well as what Sam said earlier is to be transparent, to really show who you are and make your identity and yourself shine through. So yeah.
Thank you. Chris, for the same question.
Sure. So, sorry, could you repeat that again?
Sure, no worries.
Thank you.
So what is your biggest piece of advice for succeeding in the UCLA application process or the college application process in general for transfer?
Sure. So I think for me in the application process, it definitely helped to start early. So even like the summer of, a couple months before, I was already looking at those like personal statements and trying to figure out how I wanted to word those because I actually had something written up for the whole summer, and then I had a second opinion on someone who had already applied, and then I ended up scrapping my ideas completely and going more so sort of the, I guess, like narrative approach to the essays. So definitely like what Yana was saying, getting a second opinion, and it just makes it easier when you start early in general. And then also for me, uh, I just thought I'd share this as well. I applied to the same schools I was talking about earlier, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and UC Irvine, straight out of high school. And the first time around, I actually got rejected to all three. And this was my senior year. So I think just another thing to keep in mind is just like give yourself credit and like persevere through it, and really don't be afraid to show yourself off in the applications just to show who you are as an individual. Um, I would say definitely the essays helped me out with that as well. So yeah, just make sure you get a second opinion, maybe especially someone who specializes in like, college essay writing. That would definitely help. And yeah, so, look where I am now. I got accepted to UCLA and the other two schools as well. So I'd say I definitely learned from that experience as well. Yeah.
Thank you. That was nice for the background information. I think it's important to just keep in mind to not give up. So Sam, do you want to go ahead for the same question?
Yeah, so I think my answer is going to be very similar to Jan and Chris's. So yeah, I definitely agree. Starting early, is definitely the way to go. I started a couple of months. I had like my first drafts of these questions, and the cool thing is like there's 7 different questions that are on for these the personal. I forgot what they're called again. If everyone knows, but you have to basically answer 4 of them. You have to answer 4 of the 7 questions. So I would totally do all of them, kind of see what you like, because you never really know. You could start kind of getting into the flow. Yeah, personal statements, perfect. Thank you, Chris. So I would totally advise trying all of them to kind of see what you like, and really go from there. Starting early is super important. If your CC, they might have a transfer center there. I know my CC personally had one, so there's someone that was there to review what you wrote, to give you some tips, pointers. We also have if you have tutoring on your campus, you can schedule an online. Yes, personal insight questions. Yes, thank you, Yana. PIQs. You can make a session with the tutor, and like they're happy, to go over the structure to make sure everything is clear, and that you're really, getting yourself known. And it's not just this blank text, and you're not just like diminished to this GPA, but you're much more than that. You're your person with your own unique experiences. That is really going to aid you to succeed. So yeah, just going off, time management is super important. Starting early, as well as talking with many other people in the field, whether that's tutors, your own professors, counselors. Everyone is here to help, and the more eyes, the better, honestly. And yeah, start early.
Thank you. Those are great advices. So Johan, for the same question.
I think just as like what everyone's mentioned is to plan ahead. It's very important because like I actually starting to writing the personal statement at the summer actually. And I think I finished off the personal statement around October or November. And then I asked my friends and professors and transfer counselors to read all my 4 or 5 transfer essays and provide me any suggestions. So I think I will write 2 or 3 times so per essay, because the transfer essay are extremely important. So I really hope that everyone can like focus on writing those statements and really plan ahead on doing so. Yeah.
Thank you. So Raya, if you want to go ahead.
Just like what everybody said, plan ahead. But then I would also want to add, since there's 7 questions, list out what you have done during these past 2 to 3 years or in your lifetime, because that's going to make a difference on how you're going to stand out. We all have unique like experiences in our lives that are way different than like 100,000 applicants. So I would suggest writing it all out, what you have done that is similar, that it like is similar to those questions, and then probably write something that it stands out, that shows how unique you are, because they're gonna read the same thing over and over again. Like, what's it called? Interact. Remember, if you know what Interact is, there's so many people from Interact that apply to UCs. And I bet you they do not want to read that over and over again. So you really have to make sure it stands out. And also, what I think has helped me is that in my personal insight questions, I wrote it like a story, like so it can, so they as the reader can see that, like can visualize what I had to go through, like with struggles or with accomplishments, or that feeling of joy that you accomplished something. So make sure you make unique experiences, list it all out, and I think just tell the story of your life, because that's what's gonna like gravitate them to choosing you.
Thank you. So the next question that kind of links to what you all just said, what's one thing you could have done to make your transfer application process easier, if you can think of anything? So Yana, if you'd like to answer that.
I should have taken my own advice and planned ahead. Because honestly, I mean, I was mindful of the deadlines, but I was really pushing it, I felt like the anxiety build as the deadline was coming in. So I wish I took that advice. I mean, I am in, but that would have saved me a lot of anxiety.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, so I guess just thinking about looking back on my application now, I feel like I might have included a little bit too much from high school, but I think I've kind of learned just like along the way is that the application readers, they want to see that you've done like a lot of things more recently and in community college. And yeah, I was definitely going to say the same thing about starting earlier as well. But yeah, so I'm also just looking at my application now and just kind of look back on it. But I would also say, for example, it gives you the option to write, short descriptions under your honors, extracurricular activities, work experience, and volunteering. So I would just like really hone in on putting action verbs in those little descriptions as well, because they like to see that, because it kind of explains better than just writing a short description. Like if you show the actions that you did and kind of elaborate on that a little bit more, I feel like that'll stand out. But other than that, yeah, I would just say be really detailed on your application, start early, and if you don't have too much volunteer experience, I guess, try to get on that and find something.
Thank you. Okay, Sam?
Pretty much the same thing. I honestly don't think that you can you can always start. I don't think there's any harm in starting really early on an application. I mean, I gave myself a couple months, but I mean, giving yourself even more time than that, I think is great. You know, the more time you have to really think about these things, think about these prompts, because you know sometimes just being able to think about these how you want to answer the questions. It may take some time, or it helps to also talk about your passions or like why you're pursuing this school to your close friends, your family, and things might spark in that conversation that might just really help aid you. So I'd really encourage everyone to not only just start early, but talk to people about why, or like what is really driving them, and about their different experiences, or why they really want to go to this college. I think that might really assist in the whole writing process altogether, helping things come together maybe a little easier. And then I would say myself personally, I wish I had talked to a little bit more people, maybe trying to network more about students that were already in UCLA, maybe what they liked that they did on their PIQs, or going to see a couple different tutors instead of just seeing one. And I'd never think it's a bad thing, to talk to more people in higher education, or just mentors too, to help structure these questions to make them as strong as they can. So that's personally what I would do. So just to sum that up, starting early, talking about why you're passionate and why you want to get into the school, as well as making sure you're seeing a multitude of different people to help you through the process of writing the questions.
Thank you. That's for sure. Networking is always really important on whatever you do. So Yuhan, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, sure. So if I think about my transfer applications, if I can redo that one more time, I think I will kind of changing the style that I write for the personal statements. Because what I did last year was to lead a lot of like the truth and the statement for each personal statement. But what I will rather do is to maybe present the content in a more story side of this. Because I think people are more likely to read your transfer applications from a story side, because that can easier for them to understand you like as a person, or how do you passionate about, because that can make them too interested in you. So I think that would be a great idea if I can rewrite my transfer app. Yeah. And the second thing is just like everyone said, is to plan ahead. It's nothing to hurt. Yeah, I think that would be like what I'm thinking. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Raya, if you want to go ahead.
So in relation to like starting early, I would have to say like be very dedicated to it during the summer months. Like I know that like from June to November is like a long way to go, but it goes by so fast. Like don't play around. Actually, like if you're very dedicated and if you really want to go to a UC or any other school that you're applying to with these essays, you have to be dedicated and to put time and effort in. Don't do it like in November or in October. Like that's a tough month. Those are tough months when you're like juggling school and you're juggling work with writing these essays and how you want to like convey who you are. So yeah, I swear, if you are a first year community college student right now, I want you to like go to the UC transfer app and like look at those questions like right now and start having an idea of what you want to do.
Thank you. All right, so for today, we're done with the regular questions. We're gonna go on the Q&A session, as I mentioned in the chat. So everyone will have about 25 minutes to ask questions. You can put them in the chat and we'll call you on to unmute yourself and ask directly your question. I will hand it on to my co-host, who is Emily. So Emily, if you want to go ahead and mediate that part.
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, I don't think I said hello in the beginning. My name is Emily Sham. I go to DVC and I'm here as the co-host for this webinar. So the first question that we're going to be starting off is for TAP, which alternative major did you choose? I see in Assist, we might need to complete prerequisites for the other majors as well. Anyone can go if they have an answer.
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that one. Oh, sorry. Did you want to go, Yuan?
No, you can go first. No, you can go
Okay,
first.
sorry about that. Yeah, so for me, Emily, what you were saying about like having to have like prereqs for that major, that's something that you do have to keep in mind when picking that, I guess, second major. So I wanted to apply under biochemistry as my main major, but because I also had to take a lot of physics classes that were prerequisites for that major as well, I chose physics as my secondary major, even though it wasn't ideal. You do have to pick a second major if you do want to apply to the TAP program as well. That's the only thing to it, but yeah, it's still, I would say the TAP program is still like a really nice way for them to get like a second look at your application.
Thank you for answering that question. If anyone else would like to speak on answering this question, you can ask.
Can I add on something? Can I add on something?
Go for it.
Yeah, so my transferring major was economics, and the alternative major that I choose is Asian study. But I don't think there's any prerequisite requirement for the major of Asian study, or if they have like the only like English 1A or 1B, like some basic courses. Other than that, I don't think you need to like study more course in order to satisfy the requirement of Asian study. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. If we could go on to the next question that we'd like the chat to that we'd like to answer from the chat. Someone wrote, I did not do well in my first year of college, and I'm planning to transfer in the fall of 2021. Will it affect the chances of being admitted? And if anyone would like to answer that one at all.
I can take this one. Yeah, so something about that, like going to community college, you know, it's a whole new environment from high school. You know, you're adjusting to classes. It's very different, and I think it's also very natural too. You know, to have maybe a GPA that's not as high as you had hoped. But the thing is, like when people are looking at applications, they love to see, you know, that upward trend, to see that the student themselves are growing. You know, they're pushing themselves to, you know, work even harder, you know, or try different ways that might work better in their education. So I don't think it might be challenging, but it's definitely not a bad thing if you're showing this constant trend of, you know, steadily climbing higher. Because, you know, we're all human, everyone experiences, you know, our own struggles with things, whether that's in personal lives or just strictly within academics. But, you know, as long as you're working hard, as long as you are talking to your counselor, seeing what you can do, you know, getting involved, you know, joining all the programs that you can, I think that's going to put you in a really great position, even though you might not have had the best GPA during your first year, which I think, you know, again, that's totally natural, especially it being a brand new environment.
I also wanted to speak on what Sam was saying about upward trends. Yeah, we're human and some things happen in our lives that we have no control over. That's when you take advantage of, I believe there's a portion of the application where you can explain if there's anything, any like sort of digression from your regular academic performance, you can explain yourself there. Feel free to just go all out on that section. So yeah.
Great, thank you for your answers. If there's no other panelist that wants to also answer that question, we can move on to our next question. And let's see. I guess I don't see quite a question in the chat, so I'm going to ask a question from myself if I can. And I wanted to ask, do you think that in your applications it's a good idea to mention, if let's say you started off struggling your first semester, is it a good idea to mention it as a way that you've built yourself up in your work ethic in your applications, or is it not good to really mention? And this can go to any of the panelists, but if not, it's okay.
I would personally say, you know, showing that growth, showing that you have, you know, taken these struggles, but you know, you've reflected on it and you've just grown to be a stronger student, a stronger person. I think that's fantastic. I think people, you know, love to see that. I personally, you know, I wrote a lot about that, particularly regarding my own high school experience and how I didn't do well there, but you know, at CC I was able to, you know, find myself, and I think that's a really great way. You know, it shows that transparency. It shows that you're genuine. You know, and it really speaks volumes about who you are. And it's definitely not a boring read. You know, it's not, oh yeah, I've always been successful. Things have come easy. It's like, no, like you can relate to going through these struggles, and these struggles are the same things that are just going to make you a more successful student in the future. I mean, if you had to go through that, you're prepared, you know, the next time something happens to come back from that even better. So I think that's something great that you can write about, and as long as you relate that back to, you know, how you shifted from being in one place, from, you know, going from point A to point B, and really explain yourself there about your involvements and really talking about who you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your answer. Our next question is, did any of you complete your AAT when you transferred? From Margarita.
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that. Yes, I did complete my AAT. I actually ended up with like 3 associate's degrees by the time I was done at community college. Just because I was at Pasadena City College for 3 years, trying to figure out what I wanted to do really, and also just balancing like work and school. Community college really like helped in that, but yes, short answer, I did transfer out with an AAT.
Awesome, thank you.
I actually also did the AAT program because I was had an associate degree in economics. So by the time you complete all the course that lists in the assist website, which is a course that you have to take for UC schools, I think for econ majors, you will automatically satisfy the requirement of the associate degree requirement. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Sharon, asking, if you went through the TAP application process, how did that work? What was the process like?
Yeah, so I guess to just elaborate on what I said in the chat, the TAP program, you're automatically enrolled in it when you do the honors program. That was for me at my community college. So at Moore Park, I completed the honors program, and then so yeah, they automatically enrolled me in it. And there were actually, I guess, meetings that they had with the facilitators for the honors program that helped me complete all the paperwork that I had to do during it. So I really think it just varies between the different community colleges and how that works out.
Thank you so much. If anyone else wants to answer that, go for it.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, like Chris said, the requirements do kind of vary slightly between different CCs. I know for mine personally, we had our honors program, but in order to be enrolled into TAP, you did have to fill out a specific paperwork and meet with like a specific honors counselor. So there's kind of a timeline there, but counselors, you know, they'll give you everything that you need to know. So requirements for completing these honors programs also vary. So personally at my CC, you had to complete 15 honors units. So that was like a total of 5 honors classes, and you had to make sure 12 of those units were done before that last semester. So it'd be your spring semester. So I actually applied to this program during my second year. A lot of people kind of space it out between the 2 years, but I didn't even find out about it until my second year of CC. So I ended up completing it in 1 year. So that's also possible as well. If there's anyone out there that maybe if TAP is a brand new thing you heard, you can take some classes during your fall, and then maybe some during your winter, and then, you know, last one during spring as well. So yeah, definitely check out on your own community college's website because it's slightly different. Mine also included like a community engagement aspect, but I know other programs just don't even have that part either.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your answer. Our next question goes out to 1 minute. Goes out specifically to Yuhan. And this is, how was being a business major like at UCLA? When it does not have a specific business school compared to schools like UCI or Cal?
Sure. So that is also, so the questions that you're asking me is also the questions I was like thinking when I was like to choose which school I will go, because I was kind of struggling going to UCLA's econ majors and going to UC Irvine's business administrations major, because for UCs, the only two schools, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I think the only two schools that offers business schools are UC Berkeley's Haas Business Schools and the UC Irvine. And so, but the difference is the econ majors do offer you a lot of like study about the overall understanding about the economic and about the world, but business school offer you a lot of like personal or professional trainings on how to run up a business. So that is a completely different thing. But the reason why I choose biz econ is because I think for undergrad levels, it's more important for you to have a like whole understanding about how the world really goes and the understanding about the concept. Sorry, what the other part of the questions again? I forgot the other part of questions.
The other part of the question was, how is it compared to UCI or UC Berkeley when you were looking between UCLA, UCI, or Berkeley?
I think so I did apply for UC Berkeley Haas, but UC Irvine is more like just as what I said, it's more like business training. So but UCLA's so I will mention that my experience study business economics at UCLA's. Because we are quarter system and the times runs very, very fast, so midterms always come at week 3 or 4, and the second midterm come around week 6 or 7, and final come around week 10 or 11. And the final grade count heavily on the midterms and finals. So all the exams count above like 90% of the final grade. So you really need to pick the right professors and treat midterms as finals in order to get a good grade. Yeah, but I don't know about like how UC Irvine's business school, like how they operating their like grading system, etc. I'm not that very familiar with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that answer. If I can move on to our next question, it is from Surly in the chat, and they ask, does UCLA consider the fact that where you live or where you came from? Because I read that CUs are accepting students who are from the area due to COVID. So does UCLA consider where you're from or where you live in part of who they accept? Do you think so?
I don't think so. I think it really depends on like who you are as a person and what you can provide to UCLA. Yeah, COVID is a downer right now, but like either way, they're gonna provide you the education that you need and that you want from them. Like whether or not it's from online on through Zoom or like in class. I think I'm not gonna say that I'm like some biostat and we're like gonna go back to like UCLA next quarter or this year, but I'm pretty sure they're just gonna give you options on what you want to do just so we can stay safe and healthy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your response. I didn't know that was a factor actually when it came to the CUs deciding, so that's news to me. Our next question goes into, how do UCLA classes compare to the classes at your community college in terms of difficulty and what you learn in them?
I can answer that too. Going into UCLA, I can definitely like from my perspective and from my psych classes, I can definitely agree that it's the same. I don't get why like people are like downing community college because the education is the same. You're learning the same material. You're learning the same stuff. Like for me, last quarter, I was taking OChem, and I had this midterm that I was doing, and like for studying with it, I was studying with my like community college friend at the time. Like he was in community college. He was helping me out. It's literally the same. There might be difficulty in like the problems that they're asking, but like teaching wise and like classes, they're pretty much the same. I like for real. I don't understand why a lot of people do not accept community college as like a downer. It's the same education. And so if you guys like, you just we gotta like stand up for the transfers.
Thank you so much for your answer. I know there might have been other people, other panelists that have maybe a different answer or something to say about this.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I would definitely say, looking back now, I feel like it's actually really hard to compare my university classes with my community college classes because keep in mind, like when you're in community college, I was also taking like English classes and, you know, other classes that really didn't necessarily apply to my major. But, being at the university, you're basically taking all upper division classes. So it's really hard to compare. But difficulty wise, I would say it's definitely the same. I feel like it might just feel a little bit faster due to the 18 weeks being shortened to 10 weeks per class. But other than that, difficulty level seems to be the same, and it's still hard to compare because, I would argue that some might find it easier actually being at the university because you're actually taking classes within your major and what you're actually interested in. That's kind of like a driving force for a lot of people to, I guess, do well and pursue their actual studies.
Interesting. Thank you. Our next question is for Johan directly, and they ask, for international students, F1 visa holder, are there any internship/investment activities that enrich your experience with business economics majors?
Okay, so for myself, I actually didn't do any internship in the campus, but I know that if you are going to applying for summer internship in the US, then if you hold a I-1 visa, you can actually do that, but making sure that like going to the UCLA is called International Student Office to let them know that you are doing an internship, and then I think it's valuable for you to doing so. And if you are going to have a working with professors or have an intern in the stores in the campus, I think it's also valuable for you to do so. Yeah.
Thank you. And there's one other section of this, and this person is asking that I want to ask everyone, did they say anything in the additional comment section of the application? And this is for everyone, no? Okay, I understand that. I guess they didn't, to answer your question. For our next question, when did you apply for the honors program? Did you apply the year of your transfer, or did you apply since freshman year? And this can go to anyone.
Yeah, I could go ahead and answer that one. So the honors program, I believe you can actually apply to it anytime as long as you're not doing it too late. Because as me and Sam were saying earlier, for my community college at least, the requirements for it were that you finish 15 units of honors classes. And I think you also had to do an oral presentation and attend 2 extracurricular activities. those were just filled out separate documents to the people facilitating the honors program. So yeah, I would say the earlier you start it, the sooner you can get those 15 units done. And actually, I believe if you apply to the honors program later, after already completing honors units, they can still apply to the honors program as well, and they would count. So yeah, I guess long story short, start the honors program early so that we can get those 15 units done earlier. And a word of advice that I have for the honors program is that instead of doing my major classes for the honors program, I actually did GEs for the honors program. So I did honors psychology, sociology, art history, music appreciation, kind of classes that like you would find interesting and that don't necessarily apply to your major, and that you feel like would be a lighter workload, because it's kind of like, you know, it doesn't really matter what those honors units are, as long as they're 15, you're done and you can apply to the program through that way. So that's kind of my experience with it.
Awesome, thank you so much. Looking at our comment section, that seems to be most, like all of our questions. If I've missed your question or you still have a question, please type it out in the chat. Otherwise, we will be coming to a close. And I'm gonna say we're actually finishing at really great time unless there's one more question. We can wait for one more minute.
Okay, I think it looks like we're about the end, and we only have 1 minute left before the end of the session. So before that, I would like to say thank you a lot to our panelists for coming here today and talking about your experience and giving tips and advices to transfer students now in the process. I know it can be really challenging to, I mean, I'm in the process myself, and it can get really confusing, especially if you don't have the support around you. And in times of COVID, it can get really hard to find those informations. So I would like to say really thank you for finding some time, especially on a Saturday night, for coming here and talking to us. If there are anything else that we'd like to add, that is the time. If not, we can call it a day. And thank you again for coming here today. All right. I guess we're done for today then. Thank you. And bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Best of luck to you. Personally, for me, if you guys would like to reach out, you guys could find my LinkedIn or something like that, because someone was asking in the chat, so I'm just going to say it now. You could find me on LinkedIn, or just look up my name on Instagram. You could find me there as well.
Yeah, same here, guys.
Awesome, thank you. I think they will still have the flyer so they can look up for your name fully so they can find you. All right, thank you guys. I'm gonna now end the session. Bye. Have a great evening.